Shane, next story.
Yes.
Who is high? What the hell are they on? Take us to trip. We're going to go on a trip into the spirit world.
All right.
All right, so we've been
Concept.
talking a lot about demons, I feel, this whole podcast in various different forms.
There's
have
one
you
of
ever
them.
felt that that the wars in this world, that there's another dimension to all of this, that we're only seeing a glimpse of a wider spiritual battle that's going on?
Yeah.
I feel like that sometimes. You see this in the way that people act these days, where the hysteria is increasing more and more and more. It would be useful if there was proof of this idea that people can be possessed, right?
Yes.
So there actually, interestingly, is some evidence, and it comes from our friends in the psychedelic community.
Uh-oh.
So,
Which is more popular than ever now, by
yes,
the
it
way.
is.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm gonna get to that.
everybody's microdosing. Go ahead.
Yeah.
That's true.
So while everyone else, is dealing with all these border problems and the economy, the hippies have been discovering some entities while they've been on ayahuasca.
Whoa.
So if you don't know, ayahuasca is a plant-based drug. Its liquid form is how you ingest it. It is a vine and a leaf.
Oof.
The leaf has DMT in it. But unlike regular DMT, which you have to smoke, and
it.
it only lasts for about 20 minutes, the vine in the ayahuasca plant it blocks an enzyme in the gut that allows the DMT molecule to be fully absorbed straight to the bloodstream, and so it makes the trip last for 6 hours. But people say that it can feel like months in this
God,
other reality.
I wouldn't want to do that.
So
I'm
that's-
going to throw up right now.
Lots more people than you'd think.
So
I know.
that's the joke. So you would think this drug was discovered possibly as early as 2000 BC by tribes in South America. The main country where people go to try this is Peru, but tribes from Brazil, Colombia, and Ecuador were practicing this, but they would treat it with reverence. They had a shaman. They knew that they were going into the spiritual world. Nowadays,
They're not going into a spiritual, they're going into a moment of actual insanity. They're going into clinical insanity.
Chemicals wrong in your
But it's
I
the
don't
things
know.
they see on the other side of
I
this
don't know.
that are the problem.
You gotta hear what they
I
say.
love to say it.
But so first, I just want to show a tweet from one user who made a very funny joke. Kelly, if you could pull that up.
Here you go.
So the thing is, these tribes use it, right? But recently, liberals and people from Silicon Valley, suburbanites who have no experience with this stuff, do it to get ideas for the new app they're going to make. So he says, ayahuasca is insane because it appears to be one of the most legitimately dangerous drugs with the potential to gigafry your brain, but is exclusively taken by liberal turbo normies who unironically want to heal internalized racist trauma and basically get one-shotted by it.
Oh, God.
What's one shot mean?
It's in a video game. You get hit with
Taken
one
out
bullet. It's just
instantly.
basically
One
getting
shot.
destroyed.
Okay.
Literally the most spiritually inept people in existence, having their little lib brains rearranged by some Mesoamerican six-dimensional demon who makes them quit their email job, divorce their boyfriend, girlfriend, and become a traveling circus stripper or whatever.
This is very specific.
So a 2015 survey of ayahuasca users found that 46% had encounters with superhuman or spiritual entities, and half had experiences of other universes and encounters with their inhabitants. A 2020 survey found that 11% of users had experiences of an autonomous entity they described as a demon, devil, or monster. 78% described entities as benevolent. 70% described them as sacred. 16% as negatively judgmental, 11% as malicious. 72% said the entities continued to exist after the encounter.
Oh, Jesus.
That they were
No.
just following them around.
Oh, my God.
80% said the trip altered their fundamental conception of reality, and the amount of users who had previously identified as atheistic fell from 28% to just 10%.
Wow.
Wow.
A 2018 survey of 8,000 ayahuasca users found that 15% reported feeling energetically attacked or a harmful connection to the spiritual world.
I mean, I'm not.
Are you done, Shane? Are you done?
I've got some more
Well, I want to hear. Go
anecdotes.
on, say this.
I'm just saying, I'm not saying this to be funny. Ask schizophrenics, ask people with manic bipolar disorder, ask people with temporary psychosis, and they'll answer the exact same things.
Yeah.
It's a momentary drug-induced form of schizophrenia, psychosis. It's not spiritual. And when I listen to Rogan talk about it, I'm like, dude, you're breaking your brain for a brief moment in time, and you just hope to God it goes back to normal afterwards.
You're rolling the dice with forever.
Yeah.
Bro, forever. I know one guy that I saw this story. I don't know if you guys saw this or not. Kelly, did you see this guy? He was on one of these A&E stories. He took one hit of ecstasy, and for the rest of his life, he always sees like a black bird just flying around. And his mom, and he's next to his mom getting interviewed, and she's like, yeah, and he's just like, whoa! He's like, one hit. And by the way, I know one guy that did this DMT, not the ayahuasca. He hit this DMT, and it ruined him because he said that it wasn't a black person, it was just this big black energy orb, and it would just put his arm around him, and it was trying to have sex with him in like this room, and he was like,
oh my God.
He goes, but to this day, he's ruined because this thing was trying to bring him into a party. It was all like energy, and it was like a club, and this thing was like, no, I'm gonna have sex with you inside this room, and it was just, he's not the same person
Have
anymore.
you seen the horror movie Talk to Me is what it is? It's about like they find a cryptic hand and you talk to the hand.
I haven't seen it.
It's nothing more than a metaphor for drugs or schizophrenia, but I do. I've known people and won't get too far into it. You take the wrong pill once, you're
gone.
it'll trigger a psychotic episode that you will not heal from.
Yeah.
And DMT is like the most extreme. You got salvia, you got the other. You're messing around with a very finely tuned chemical organism in your brain, and you switch the wrong switch on, it might never go off.
It's also recommended.
Shane, I'll let you go. Let us end and go, Shane.
It's also recommended that people with bipolar disorder and like multiple personalities should not be taking.
Should not.
You think?
Yeah,
But
so it
people
makes
do
you
this
wonder.
for therapy.
Yeah, it makes you wonder
All
like
right,
what
well,
would happen to them.
So David has the materialist view of reality, but I'm just going to continue just a little bit longer with the maybe more fun idealistic view or spiritual view of reality. So Graham Hancock, who's a frequent guest on Joe Rogan, he's a journalist that speaks a lot about anthropology. He's called, pseudo-intellectual, whatever, but he's more interesting than 99% of the professional academic intellectuals, so that's why people like to watch his stuff. He says that the shamans of Native American tribes use the drug to meet with entities whose messages they would interpret as signs from the gods or spirits. And so a lot of people who research this and ask users questions and go to these tribes and interview them, they all say that it's not just random shapes and meaningless just chaos and insanity. They always feel like they are being given a spiritual message or that something is being unveiled to them. And so the idea is that there's people do these substances and are looking for some kind of meaning. Ross Douthat of New York Times, he's a columnist, he's a Christian conservative. He doesn't like New Age stuff, he doesn't like hippies, whatever.
Yeah.
But he writes about trends in American spirituality because it interests him. He says that the interest in psychedelics corresponds with the decline of Christianity and a surging interest in discovering religion's supernatural grounding and fashioning a personal theology out of it. So I think as meaning begins to crumble, people want to find it again. And so you have celebrities like Machine Gun Kelly, Miley
Makes
Cyrus,
sense.
I was literally
Will Smith,
watching Machine Gun Kelly yesterday.
Chelsea Handler, and Prince Harry have all gone to Peru to try ayahuasca, as have many in the Silicon Valley elite who create the apps and phones that we use. And it's... what do you guys think? Do you
I think that's how Pat came up with the neck. He was on ayahuasca, and he was like, a minute, connect.
I was just actually with my kid watching Machine Gun Kelly's diss track to Eminem, and it wasn't as good as I remembered it being.
Yeah.
I understand people want spiritual connections. They want to touch the infinite. They don't understand all that you're doing is rewiring. You're rewiring or messing with the proper functioning of your brain, and you just hope it goes back to normal afterwards.
Do you? Okay, I agree. I agree 100%. Do you think though that there is we're here in this moment right now, David? Is there other dimensions and stuff happening around us in the spiritual world that you don't see?
I agree 1,000%.
100%.
The way to access it is not by taking drugs. And I don't care, a natural thing from a... Okay, imagine having a dream. I mean, you have them every night. Your pineal gland...
Pineal gland right here.
And you have a
Third
dream
eye.
that's as vivid as reality.
Yes.
That's good. That's the proper natural functioning of a brain. You induce that dream through drugs and through whatever, and you don't know when it's going to turn off, if ever. You don't know how long it's going to last, and you don't know what... It's not going to open portals. What it's going to do is potentially just traumatize your brain in that medically induced state of psychosis, and it might last for the rest of your life in terms of trauma.
I don't think it's worth...
But David, what about this? What if spiritual realms or any of such ideas, those are just simply ideas? And if we rearrange the brain, causing certain ideas to come to us, isn't that not then the same thing as accessing? Because if we have this understanding that the spiritual is somehow supposed to be physical, but it's precisely not physical because it's spiritual. And when people regularly, just commonly talk about their spirits, they're speaking about their emotions and their inner thoughts. They're not speaking about a physical soul. So if it changes your ideas, and
dude, there's no question it changes your ideas. It makes you more creative. You find connections where they're not. I didn't say it doesn't potentially have some sort of side benefit. People smoke weed and they are a lot more entertaining and humorous than they were before. But you're gambling. I mean, you're gambling with the only brain you have.
No doubt.
I have the same opinion of ayahuasca and this kind of stuff like I do with Ouija boards, for example. 95% of it's crap.
Yeah.
The other 5%, God help you if you open yourself up to it.
Yeah, it's scary, dude.
You will experience things that are probably not real, but then if you do experience something real, you endanger everything that makes you who you are.
And go ahead.
I think there was an argument that, wasn't it something, I heard it, I forgot where I heard it, but that we only use like 10% of our brain.
Might be a little bit less.
Which I think is a myth, but
do you think it's a myth?
It's the common.
I want to say 6%.
Well, how about this?
You think so?
Human senses and the human brain only comprehends
Take up
10%
yeah.
of reality.
Okay, so that makes sense. So like, I only know from, I guess, like an artistic sense where like there's a lot of music artists like Jimi Hendrix, who they were like on LSD and
All the
acid when they were
time.
playing, and they just did things that were just not of the norm. So they were able to create, I mean, I think Beethoven was on some other level of something to create the pieces that he did. Do you think that if we didn't have these sort of psychedelics or these sort of drugs, we wouldn't be as creative of a species?
Well,
musically, artistically?
I think they help. I don't
How did
think it's
Hendrix go out?
exclusive.
How did, I know, I get it. They all died at 27. I mean,
I agree. I think you have a point. It's not maybe that it's the only way to access creative ideas, but when normal reality pulls you down so much to boring, ugly things like race, money, crime, like material, bodily things, it's helpful to be pushed in a certain direction. But you could also get it from church. You could get it from music. You can get it from contemplating history or science, whatever. But it's certainly this one-shots you.
I was going to mention this actually when we were talking about Little Nas X, because I know we got to.
I got to wrap this up.
Because I'm a huge literature nerd. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the story of Dr. Faustus.
Yep.
It's a play where a guy sells his soul to the devil to access greater knowledge. But the whole point of the play is that because knowledge is an elevating thing that comes from God, by seeking out demonic sources, he can never rise above that. He can never go up. He can only go down. So, at the beginning of the play, he's exploring the universe, seeing the mysteries of all these things as his demon guide shows him how the world works. And at the end, he's just performing parlor tricks for bored royalty because he can never ascend beyond that because the demonic influence pulls him down.